Mr. President, honored delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control. We shall propose, finally...
You just get on to Mr. Fletcher. Another question on the in an interview with the Los Angeles Times on April 21st, you said that you told the Associated Press that the American government has created weather tampering techniques so that the New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans and to control the rest. Would you explain what you were trying to say?
Well, what I was trying to say is exactly what I said. There is weather control techniques. We have a complete package on that, which I did not bring, but I certainly will see to it that it is brought in for the record. Number one, the entire patents on the equipment. Number two, Senator Claiborne Pell's complete statement and story of his own that not only does it exist, but that we even utilize it as far back as the Vietnam War. You might want to touch base with Senator Pell.
I just want to repeat before I turn to...
So yes, but we do have all that information.
You're saying the government has created weather tampering techniques so that the, quote, New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans...
Worldwide.
Millions of Americans, and to control the rest.
Yes, sir, and that's my belief. As bizarre as that sounds, if somebody had told me that that equipment even existed 10 years ago, I would have thought they were nuts, sir. And at this point in time, we have all the documents to prove it. And if you think that 85 tornadoes takes place in the middle of our growing area by simultaneous accident, I'm sorry. With the equipment that's already set up internationally, and as bizarre as that is, it is proven and documented. We will supply you with those documents. As bizarre as that is, I would say that weather wars, and this is quoting actually Senator Claiborne Pell himself, that they are the greatest weapon ever created in the world, and that's the Senator's own statements.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The greatest weapon known to man right now is the weather. I mean, they're using it. And I'm definitely not on the right scene here, so give me a second. I knew we would not be able to get this started without some kind of flaw. So here we go. We got that fixed. We can get rid of the clock. It looks like we're still around. So the, yeah, okay, got rid of that. Let me just kind of tidy things up right here. There we go. All right, we're looking at a crazy anomaly out here off the East Coast. I have no clue what this is. We got tons of aerosols being deployed out here. You know, they want to call these contrails. They're not contrails. I'm going to show you what the ingredients of these chemtrails are. But yeah, we got a definite weird anomaly here. You know, at first I thought these shadows were from these chemtrails, but I just don't know. We're looking at the second worst spraying operation on the planet. If we just look over here a little bit over to Portugal, you're going to see the most geoengineered place on the planet right now. Right here off the coast of Portugal. Anyway, let's jump into a few things here. I guess I'll show you the ingredients. We're going to get deeper into what they're spraying in the skies all over the planet. But check this out. This is the table of elements in the jet fuel that they use today. As you can see, the aluminum is at 9,360 parts per billion. Barium 38, calcium 31,120, chromium 18, copper 6, iron 1,144, lead 10, magnesium 5,840, magnesium, I don't even know what that is, 25, nickel 6, niobium, I don't even know what that is, 2, potassium 207, excuse me there, scandium 11, selenium 21, strontium 351, sulfur 1690, tin 102, titanium 1056, vanadium 18, and zirconium 39. This is what's in a so-called contrail. This is the ingredients in the JP8 that they call water vapor. I don't even see any water vapor molecules in this element chart. All complete lies. Anyway, we'll jump into this a little later. First, we gotta have a shout out to a fellow activist out here he was down in Australia, named Barry Parsons. Had him as a friend on Facebook. He was killed in one of the brush fires, into the bush fire. Got his last post right here. So as the fire was bearing down on him, this was the last post he made on November 8th. Seriously looks and sounds like apocalypse out there. Anyway, I can't say the rest of it. But that was his final post before he's inundated by the fires. I don't know if he tried to escape. I don't know what happened to him. But he's gone. So we got a fellow activist that's been fighting this stuff for a long time. Took out by engineered firestorms, mega firestorms that have all been completely engineered, and we're going to get into why, how, where, all that stuff. So let's jump into just a few articles, and all these links will be pinned to the top of the comments after the show. Now you got to wonder, how are these fires burning places that have never burned before? Permanently wet forest burned for the first time ever. So the bushfire devastates rare and enchanting wildlife as permanently wet forests burn for the first time. Well, I just showed you the elements that are in the aircraft fuel. If you mix some of them together, you got basically thermite. The rainforests along the spine of the Great Dividing Range between Hunter River and southern Queensland are remnants of Gondwana, the ancient supercontinent that broke up 180 million years ago. So this so-called wet area has now burned, along with, all the animals. They're just gone. They burnt the place up. And that's where we're at. We got some of the most toxic air. In fact, the toxic air on the planet is down in Sydney right now. Sydney is blanketed with toxic layer of smoke. The worst air quality in the world. Closing offices, sparking flight, train and ferry chaos. Experts warn smog is a recipe for severe illness. It's what's in the smoke. On top of the smoke, when you're being sprayed from above, they're trapping this stuff in. It's going down towards New Zealand, Tasmania. You can't run from the smoke. The smoke's going to get you for a while. And this page just is not loading. But why are these people not wearing respirators? Do they not know what is in this smoke? These little dust masks aren't going to help you. We're looking at PM 2.5s. That's classified as a carcinogen. And these people are just breathing it day after day. These fires have been burning for months. We've been documenting it. It's been going on for months. They fired, I don't know if it's fired, but they got rid of 75% of the volunteer firefighters before the fire started. This is all done on purpose. If you don't have enough people to fight the fire, it's going to burn, and that's exactly what it's been doing, is burning. They're burning it to the ground, putting the railway in. Now, we just had the volcano that went off down here in New Zealand where they've been getting rattled by a bunch of earthquakes. So less than a day after the volcanic eruption on White Island, there's been a strong magnitude 5.3 earthquake on the country's North Island. It was a shallow quake just before 1 p.m. In fact, we got a lot of quakes that are going off right now, especially over in Japan. I haven't looked at it here lately, but we'll check that out a little bit later. Now we got a missing plane. We got a Chilean plane en route to Antarctica, disappears with 38 on board. It's a C-130. Same planes that they spray us with. The C-130 Hercules transport aircraft took off at 16:55 local time. Operators lost contact at 8:13 or 21:13. Those missing include 17 crew and 21 passengers. Man, that's a big crew. 17? They were traveling to provide logistical support to a military base on Antarctica's King George Island. A search and rescue mission is underway. What do we know of the disappearance? They told local media that the plane did not activate any kind of distress signals. He said the plane, whose pilot had extensive experience, might have been forced to touch down on water. Why? An Air Force statement said that the plane was about 450 miles into its 770-mile journey when contact was lost, placing it within the Drake Passage. The Air Force published a map of the plane's last known location on Twitter. We'll take a look at that. And we'll look at the maps. We'll see if we can find it. What I did see down there was pretty strange, so we'll get into that here in a minute. Here's the map. So we'll get into that here in just a little bit. You know, when I was kind of trying to search around, I didn't realize how many military bases are down in Antarctica. So you got tons of military bases. I knew there was a few, but you got 2 naval bases, 2 military bases, and that's just the ones that we know about. What are they doing down there? So anyway, that's something we'll have to dig into a little deeper when we got more time. More stuff going on in Australia. Coincidence, 109,000 lightning strikes over New Zealand one day before the White Island deadly volcanic eruption. 300,000 discharges on the same day. In the 24 hours leading up to the December 7th, recorded 109,000 lightning strikes over New Zealand, mostly over the South Island and Westland. That's right where we found the anomaly, that weird anomaly that looked like a projectile coming up through the clouds. We also seen the monkey face right in the same area that the volcano went off. It sounds like there's some ionospheric heating, some low frequency wave weapons could be causing some of this. You know, I don't think the solar activity is up at all. And we're going to get into, I guess we can get into this now. I just showed you the ingredients at the beginning of the show on what's in a chemtrail. So I need to play a little clip, if I can find the clip here, and then we'll jump back into it and we'll go over some of the things that they're putting into the air.
So you just mentioned contrails. So how do the contrails affect or have an impact on the climate?
Right. Well, contrails have a huge impact on climate. And so, in fact, some of the recent modeling work that has come out of DLR suggests that contrails today, just the ones that we're able to see up in the sky, maybe today, this week, this month, have a larger impact on Earth's climate than all of the carbon dioxide emitted by aircraft since the first powered airplane flight. So that's a huge effect. And so even as CO2 accumulates, greenhouse gases accumulate in the atmosphere, the impact of these contrails trapping heat and reflecting sunlight back into space is having a huge effect on the Earth's energy balance. And so
that's right, ladies and gentlemen. They're dumping more particles this week than all of the aviation since the very first plane. That's why our skies are so toxic. That's why we're all have a chest infection. That's why we're all sick. That's why all the plants and the trees and the bugs are dying. Let's get into this a little bit deeper.
And I'm interested in understanding how aerosols or particles that are emitted by jet engines in the atmosphere go on to evolve in the atmosphere and then also influence their ability to form the contrails that we see up high in the sky as well as clouds.
So what is this ECLIF, a special ECLIF mission now all about?
Right, and so we're delighted to be working with DLR again. NASA is and DLR have a long partnership in understanding the Earth's atmosphere. And
so let me get this straight. The aerosols and the particles evolve, then they form the contrail. Why do you think they call them a contrail? Because they're conning us to think it is water vapor when they just clearly said that there's a chemical reaction that creates the contrail.
As well as the environmental impacts on aviation. And so what ECLIF and the NASA counterpart NDMAX is trying to understand is as we change the fuel that's being burned in our aircraft, the fleet is transitioning towards blends of biofuels. And so we want to understand how changes in the fuel composition change the particles and gases that are emitted by the engines.
So you just mentioned contrails. So how do the contrails affect or have an impact on the climate?
Right. Well, contrails have a huge impact on climate. And so, in fact, some of the recent modeling work that has come out of DLR suggests that contrails today, just the ones that we're able to see up in the sky, maybe today, this week, this month, have a larger impact on Earth's climate than all of the carbon dioxide emitted by aircraft since the first powered airplane flight. So that's a huge effect. And so even as CO2 accumulates, greenhouse gases accumulate in the atmosphere, the impact of these contrails trapping heat and reflecting sunlight back into space is having a huge effect on the Earth's energy balance. And so we don't understand those processes. We don't understand the processes by which contrails evolve into natural cirrus clouds. And so we're trying to understand that.
Wait. Did he just say they don't understand how the contrails turn into real clouds, to cirrus clouds? Are you kidding me?
That link, and that's what this project's all about.
So that we can understand the research better, of what do contrails consist?
Right, so contrails, or condensation trails, are little ice crystals that are high in the atmosphere. So that when we burn jet fuel in these very efficient, highly efficient jet engines, most of the carbon in the fuel is completely combusted.
He's
and
lying.
Carbon dioxide
He's looking
and water.
away. He's
So
stuttering.
just a typical combustion reaction. But a small amount of that, a very tiny amount, maybe 1 part in a million, goes on to form soot particles, the tiny black particles that we see on the ground from
Black
cars and
chemtrails.
buses. And so those tiny soot particles serve as nuclei, or the focal point on which water can condense and form an ice crystal. And so the theory goes, as you reduce the amount of soot produced by the engine, you might reduce the number of ice crystals that form in the contrail. And so we're trying to understand that link, the link between the particles, and then the water vapor condenses on those particles to form the clouds and the contrails.
And that's why you have different mixtures and also mix the kerosene with alternative fuels.
That's right, yeah. And so we have a fairly good handle on the emissions from traditional petroleum-based fuels. There's been a number of experiments spanning the last several decades. But given concerns about the global energy supply and oil supply, different countries like the European Union and the United States and others are really starting to consider biofuels as an alternative to petroleum-based fuels. And so what we're doing here at NASA and DLR is
You might want to look up what's in biofuels, because it's very toxic too. Kill plants, it can kill bugs, it can drought an area out.
an alternative to petroleum-based fuels. And so what we're doing here at NASA and DLR is we're conducting the fundamental process-based research that we can then hand off to policymakers, and then they can go on and understand how the science and economic choices that they make will affect society.
And we are here right now, live, in the research aircraft. So maybe you can explain a little bit. The Atra from the DLR flies in the front,
Right.
and the DC-8 in the back.
That's right.
So what is the job of the DC-8?
Right. So the DC-8 is NASA's flying laboratory, and so you can see behind me there's a whole host of people and a bunch of racks with all sorts of instruments measuring the particles and the gas.
Now we spotted this flying lab going over all the volcanic areas in California just a few months ago. When you see this flying lab, you know stuff is getting ready to go down. So anyway, so there's Eli and NASA, you know, where he was saying that they're mixing different JP8 fuels. So they're basically experimenting on us. And the way they get away with that is they call it accidental geoengineering. Airplane contrails may be creating accidental geoengineering. Dissipating haze from plane exhaust alters how sunlight reaches the earth. It may be unintentionally affecting our climate. This is one of the biggest factors in the climate. This is the climate crisis, is the air traffic and the bunker fuel operations. So we're getting it from land and sea. It's just one article. We can go back. This come from the Earth System Research Laboratory. Airline traffic may help create an icy haze that's brightening the U.S. skies. They're brightening the skies. They've been talking about this. They're going to turn the blue skies white. We will never see blue skies again, deep, dark blue skies ever. Because once they started this spraying operation, they're not going to stop. They can't. At least that's what they say. Now we got a bunch of different articles we can go into. All these links will be pinned here on the main channel, here on the YouTube channel, in the comments just right after the show's over. Now here's some good research over here on the Climate Viewer News. Goes all the way back to non-lethal warfare proposal. This comes out of China Lake, California. Technical description: by the way of background, weather modifications was used successfully in Vietnam, among other things. Remember, they also dumped all the bioweapons out. Weather modification by carbon dust absorption of solar energy. This is a 1976 called, you know, the idealized portrayal of a typical hurricane radial circulation and how carbon black dust seeding of the boundary layer just beyond the cirrus shield might lead to enhanced cumulus convection and reduction of low level inflow which penetrates to the eye wall of the cloud. You know, the Department of Defense, the Department of Homeland Security went to the weather modification workshops on how to steer hurricanes. All these alphabet gangs are involved. All the power companies, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's, they're all involved. You know, I showed a clip the other day from the 2019 Weather Modification Committee meeting in Texas. They talked about all the cloud seeding operations they did. They talked about how they seeded storms they had no business seeding. They also seeded storms that were already thunderstorm worn, and we wondered why the Midwest flooded out. They also talked about electric rain making. So this stuff is going on. The people looking up thinking it's natural, man. They got to be slapped awake because they're not looking up. They're not paying attention. Why we're getting, you know, all getting sick from this, and wonder why all the bees are dying, all the trees are dying. Why are the bees getting Alzheimer's? It's from aluminum poisoning. Here again, here is the elements detected in jet fuel. Look at the aluminum. It's off the chart. Back in the 80s, the aluminum was 2,144 when they were burning the JP5. Now they're running the JP8. The aluminum's up to 9,360 parts per billion. Insane, man. Look at the strontium. It went from 70 up to 351. Look at the titanium. It went from 35 to 1,056. That's why the chemtrails are worse this week than all of aviation put together. It's because they're using these different mixes. A lot of these aircraft companies have their own refineries. You know, they're not going to the same gas stations that we're going to. So they're mixing up their own blends. Here's another document from 1958, modifying weather on a large scale. Current proposals are likely to produce cures that are worse than the ailment. They're talking about blackening the deserts, blackening the polar ice caps. You know, we're seeing that now with the bunker fuel operations. The bunker fuel operations are creating a huge cloud deck over the poles. They're melting the poles. The technocrats have been trying to melt the poles for over 100 years, and now they're doing it. They're trying to get to the resources. You got Russia moving it up there. They're getting ready to put the railway, and all the Russia and the America, that's all propaganda. They're working together with China to put in the one world train system, which we go over all the time. And I think that's probably all the articles I was going to go into. So now we can, wait, I got this one here. Cirrus clouds matter, geoengineering with cirrus cloud seeding. But anyway, tons of information over here at the climateviewer.com. I mean, all the research has been done. All the samples have been taken. We have everything we need to put all these people in Guantanamo, but nothing's happening. Here's another thing. Contrail cirrus contributes to a large fraction of the aviation-induced climate impact, comparable to 50 years of aviation CO2. Satellite data analysts suggest observable impact of aviation on the cirrus cover and radiation fluxes. Right here is the climate change. This is the global warming. This is the climate crisis. It's all right here. Cirrus cloud seeding. Cirrus clouds are the chemtrails. Seeding via commercial airliners. Got all the references, all the information's, you know, on these sites. Everybody's already done the research. It's all been done. This is what it looks like off Portugal right now. Complete whiteout. I mean, it doesn't get any more blatant than this. You can see this is a toxic grid pattern. You know, and take, for example, a few months ago, or probably like 6 months ago, all the NEXRAD radar stations went down in Portugal. That immediately stopped all geoengineering over Portugal. It was sunny for the full 3 weeks, not even a cloud in the sky. Why the NEXRADs were down. As soon as them babies went back online, the planes were right back out here, filthing up the sky. That's what's going on. That's the real climate catastrophe. That's why everybody is sick, and that's why everything is dying. Now, I would check to see if there's any bunker fuel operations today, so let me go ahead and add that layer in here. We'll just look real quick. Welcome in, everybody. If anybody's new here, man, we cover so much stuff in one night that if you miss shows, man, you're missing out on a lot of things. Now, yesterday, all the bunker fuel operations were down here, and it looks like we still have a few. So you really can't tell till you get the right layer. I mean, these kind of look like normal clouds. At least they're the right color, but then once you add the 3.7 microns, you can see right here, this guy's billowing out bunker fuel. Now, bunker fuel is the worst emissions on the planet. We could go back to yesterday so you can see the operations were a little bit bigger yesterday. In fact, they were a little farther north. Here they are up in the north. You got, tons of ships up here. There's a bunch right here, these long lines that are billowing out smoke. You can't really see them until you put the right layer on. They're hidden. They're hidden in the clouds. Now this bunker fuel is creating a cover, like a blanket over the Antarctic. It's also mixing in with every one of these storm systems. We've seemed to find that they're seeding right around the edge of a high pressure system, and then they're splitting the high pressure system off, creating a low pressure storm system. Like they're cutting chunks off. And the other thing with this toxic bunker fuel, 13 of these ships out here, just 13 of them, puts off more emission in one day than all the cars on the planet. I mean, that's a lot. So if there's, 1,000 ships out here that are running bunker fuel, I mean, you're looking at 10 years worth of emissions in just a couple days of all the cars on the planet. It's sickening what they're doing. People stand back and do nothing. Yeah, the ships, they're burning this up, man. It's billowing up here. Just type in bunker fuel. Now, see, they got their tanks. The tanks that they're using, they got different thicknesses of fuel. They got good fuel that they burn when they're up against, the coast, because they don't want you to see what they're doing out there, because they're dumping just nasty stuff. I don't even know if they'll show any photos with the black coming out. And there's also floating, like saltwater desalination towers that are blowing the stuff out. Yeah, I didn't think they would show the toxic black smoke coming out. I mean, these are good pictures of the ship tracks. Let me try what I have in here. I had let me get up here to the top. Oh, I had bunker fuel ship tracks. Let's just try bunker fuel first. But they burn this. This is like the leftovers of refining the gas. It's real thick. They have to heat this stuff up to get it to burn. Hey, thanks out there, Cynthia. So this is what the bunker fuel looks like. Now, we looked at what the prices are of the bunker fuel, I think yesterday or night before, and it's way cheaper than diesel. So they burn this when they're out to sea, when nobody can see them, and this stuff is affecting the planet. Let me show you something. We can go over here to the Earth Null School, if it will load up on me here. Oh, I have it set up. I had it set up for the looking where that plane was. Where that plane went down, man, there's like a little wind vortex, low pressure. But right now I need to show you the bunker fuel, what it's doing. You can come over to the particulates and take a look at the sulfur. Oh, I'm still on the wrong one. Here we go, the sulfur dioxide. Now, bunker fuel, like the cargo ships, they run, pretty much a straight path all the time. Now, what we're seeing here from where we at here, Africa, coming up the coast of Africa, we see this big long line going up to around the Saharas. But you see all these long straight lines, like coming out of Hawaii, all these lines, these long straight lines running over to California, going from California up to Alaska, over to Kamchatka, Russia. These are the ship tracks, man. They're putting off so much sulfur that this system is picking up the shipping lanes. These are the ship tracks and the shipping lanes, and this is the sulfur dioxide at the surface. So this is the surface. You can see them coming up, going up to Japan. They're everywhere. There's some light colored ones going straight across. This is what's making these storms more electrified. because of all the metal particulates. It's making everything more conductive. That's why we're seeing a lot of the weird weather. And it's always multi-purpose, man. It's always for different agendas. It's the eugenics program. It's the Georgia Guidestones. It's a depopulation. It's all right here, right in front of everybody's face. Right in your skies. So it's just kind of, so we know they're down a little farther south today. We'll see if there's any kind of, in fact, it's actually looking pretty clear today. As far as the aerosols being deployed, everybody's been getting hammered. But what is going on up here off the coast of British Columbia? I mean, what are these clouds? Something's not right with these clouds. We can see a few aerosols in them. Now we're going to start taking screenshots of some of these strange clouds, and we're going to start naming them to what we know they are, because all the meteorologists are just liars. They just read a script. You know, they say what they're told. All these weather applications, radars, these are all Raytheon, DARPA, and now we're starting to see where the aerosols are being deployed. Right here off the coast of Oregon. We got to wait for that to load up a little bit. Try a different layer here. We got a couple of fires. You know, we've been finding fires out here in the ocean where the toxic flumes, the volcanic flumes are starting to release some stuff. In fact, let me put the thermal anomalies on here just in case we run across something. Like, what is this, man? What is that thing? That's not a chemtrail. That, I don't even know what that is. That could be volcanic. Some kind of, I mean, look at this cloud, man. This is not a natural developing cloud. Like, there's probably no name for that kind of cloud. It looks like it's dripping stuff out, and then you got this just weird, super thick, roll-looking cloud. Let me just see something here. It's not coming out in the bunker fuel layer. But we're seeing more and more strange clouds, man. And it's because of the manipulation. Look at this huge drifting out aerosol right over the mountain range. There could be fires here in the next day or two. We see that every time. Where they want to burn stuff, that's where they're dropping down the aerosols. So tons of aerosols being deployed over Washington mountains. Look at that. It was a completely clear sky. And then the jets come in here and start laying down the toxic aircraft lines. And now we start seeing weather patterns for us. See, they're spraying in the mountains because they also use the mountains as weather modification. They use the cold air coming off the top of the mountains and that kind of stopping point where the wind's got to go up and around. You know, we got aerosols over Idaho. Has anybody ever looked up the Idaho Power Company? You probably didn't even know this if you're new here. You know, the U.S. Department of Agriculture is responsible for the cloud seeding. All the alphabet gangs. Hey, thanks, there, plays in the dirt. Here's the Idaho Power Company harvesting the storm. Idaho Power uses injections of silver iodide from the ground-based towers and flares modified aircraft to coax winter storm to produce more snow. So you have the power companies all across the planet that are modifying the weather. Did they ask? Did anybody take up a vote on ejecting silver iodide up into the sky from planes and and mobile towers. I sure didn't. But apparently they have the license to play God. I got so many links of companies that do this. Then you have the electromagnetic issue, the cloud ionizers, the ground cloud ionizers. I mean, this goes so big, man. So Baja California right now has a still being sprayed up through Mexico, all over Texas. Oklahoma's still getting hit. Kansas City, you're getting hit. Look at this grid. This is intentional. You know, right at the I-70 line, man. Let me see what that... So that turned into that. So that grid portion sucked this stuff together and created a weather system. We see it on a nightly basis. We could forecast better than any meteorologist just by the aerosols that are being deployed. We know how they're steering the storms using the aerosols and the radars and the satellite-based stuff. Spraying operation over Florida again. Looks like the Bahamas are actually getting a break. They're spraying over here out by Bermuda. See, they're getting ready to flood Bermuda out. I don't know why, but they are. Now, if I remember right, there's some odd things I was looking at over here. You know, we're seeing when they're manipulating the ionosphere because it creates like compression events. And what they call microwave clouds, or they call them gravity wave clouds. We might have bunker fuel right there over here again in the Atlantic. Yep, we have a new bunker fuel operation over here in the Atlantic. So they're seeding up this next low pressure. In fact, there's bunker fuel down here. So we got several. We actually have a pretty big bunker fuel operation going on over here in the Atlantic now. Now there was something I was looking at earlier, and I'm trying to place where that was. Give me a second to see if I can figure out where that was. I thought it was over by Ireland, but let me just look here. Where in the world was that? If I can find this, this will blow your mind, man. I took a screenshot of it. And it's like they sheared the cloud off. It kind of like that, but that's not it. Let me try to find that again. Really strange. Where in the world was that? I'm pretty sure it was up here somewhere. Let me just get a little closer up here. I thought I was on the edge of something. Might take me a second to find it. Is that it? Man, I should have wrote a note down where that was. I could always bring up the picture if I can't find it. Pretty sure it was over here. Man, I don't like wasting people's time here looking for this, but I'll try to dig it up. And we've already showed the aerosols there off Portugal, and looks like they're starting a new operation down in the Mediterranean Sea underneath Spain. Thanks out there, Steve and Cindy. Much love out there. Thanks for supporting us. It definitely helps more than you know. So yeah, we definitely have a new operation out here in the Mediterranean Sea. So all this stuff will eventually go on over towards Italy, Greece. You know, the UK and Ireland's getting ready to get hit with another wave. Man, I cannot believe I can't find... Oh, I know why. We're on yesterday's. So let me check. That's why I couldn't find it. We're on the wrong day. Let me just see if there's any bunker fuel operations today. So I'm not really seeing a whole lot standing out. Yeah, I thought I was like losing my mind, man. All right, so now maybe I can find it. Maybe, maybe not. It was really, really strange, so I'm hoping I see it again. Maybe it was over here. Here it is. I found it. Hey, thanks out there, Susan. Wow, thanks, Susan. That will definitely help. I don't think people realize, like, you know, YouTube creators, like, some of us, like, I want to try to make a good show for you guys, so I use these broadcasters. I have paid for 2 satellite internets. One of them is $300 a month. The other was $200. You got $20 for the broadcaster. You got $20 for a screen capture. You got $20 for YouTube for the premium. I mean, it's just costs a lot of money to try to keep up with the mainstream, trying to give good productions every night. So what I want you to look at is this, the way this cloud just is sheared off. It's like it's been dropped down, and we can check all the layers. So it started out as a little, like a little indention right here, and then something happened. Something happened, and it turned into this. That's like a giant cliff right there. So somehow this section of the sky got flattened out. I mean, just completely dropped out like a cookie cutter. In fact, we may have to call this cloud the cookie cutter cloud. This is crazy. We got aerosols all being deployed. Here was a big operation here off Portugal. It's not looking any better. Spain, you're getting hit up in the north. This goes all the way up into France. France has been targeted. They're getting hit with lithium and other toxic aerosols, trying to make everybody docile, but they're fighting against it. We have aerosols over the desert. There's no humidity out here whatsoever, so why are we seeing contrails and chemtrails all the way across the Sahara deserts? That's because they're not what they say. So out here in the Red Sea, a little bit of operations. They've been completely flooding out Somalia and the Horn of Africa with weather warfare. There's a big time, several companies over here in the United Arab Emirates to do weather modification. They even document it on YouTube. They bragged about how they disintegrated Typhoon Kamara, but yet they let this typhoon just hit again. They didn't turn that one off. So I can't really monitor the chats, guys, so I got to kind of look at what I'm doing. We got a lot of fires going on here. You know, their main goal is to green the desert. I can take you to a couple of the sites. First one we're going to go to, just in case we got new people here, we'll just hit it real quick. Here is a company called the Weather Generator Project. The website's weathergenerator.net. They've been enhancing the clouds since 1995. If you look in their slogan right here, you know, they're praying to the Allah and all that stuff, but the quote here, the hour will not begin until the land of the Arabs once again becomes meadows and rivers. They're going to turn the desert green. That's their goal. You can get on here and see how their weather generator works. Now, they haven't updated since the 20th, November 20th. Here it is, Green Desert in the Middle East. Project Green Desert in the Middle East. The cyclones Kayar and Maya are absolutely destroyed. Once again, we have shown the effectiveness of the weather modification technology. If you read that article, after they destroyed the hurricanes or cyclones, they had to turn the weather modification system down. They called it like a, what did they say that was? But these guys also have a YouTube channel that they document steering the atmospheric rivers of the skies. So just check out how they write this here. Once again, we've shown the effectiveness of the weather modification technology, the weather generator located in Dubai. 21 hours p.m. on the 3rd of November 2019, we have switched off to prepare for the groundwork for rain enhancement mode to increase precipitation throughout northern Africa and the Middle East. We would like to warn our viewers in advance that we're going to switch the mode of the weather generator to rain enhancement as promised. Now, they got a YouTube channel where they document what they're doing. So they're doing this all over. You know, does America, do they do they, you know, tell you when they're going to modify the weather? Hell no, they don't tell you when they're going to modify the weather. I mean, I'm just showing you a couple companies. Here's another one out of the United Arab Emirates. These guys are a bigger company than that weathergenerator.net. These guys are trying to hijack the rivers of the sky. These guys are trying to bottle up the water of the sky and sell it to you with cryptocurrency called the climate cron. These guys also brag how they made a typhoon. They tell you how much it cost for like cloud seeding technology, rain enhancement. It doesn't seem like it's on the first page no more. They must have moved it. Let me click that climate clone for a second. So they're issuing 100 billion coins. See, the concept of monetization of global market of water resources by cryptocurrency called the climate cron. See, they want to monetize the water in the sky. They want to charge you to make it rain. They want to charge you by the barrel. Now, somewhere on this site, they showed the prices. Let's see if this is it. Sells. Man, that's weird. I can't find where it has right off the bat where it shows what they charge for cloud seeding, what they charge for the electromagnetic seeding, ionospheric heating. Here's all some of the international news of what they've done. Demonstration 2019, UAE, Pakistan, UAE, Iran 2014. So it looks like they've done a little bit of updating on this site. just another company. There's so many more. Looks like the storm has wound down in Madagascar. So it hit, you know, still doing the air assault. Look, it put out all the fires, most of the fires. Oh, what I was going to show you. I was down here trying to figure out where that plane went down. So here's Drake's Passage. The plane went down somewhere here in the middle. There was like a wind vortex that was going through here, real small wind vortex. But there's something really odd down here in the clouds. Now look at this thing. Don't that look like some kind of horned head with a nose, a mouth, and a goatee? Now check this out. Click the layer. We get it on the other layer. It even has an eyeball, man. So you got some kind of, you know, like a elongated head. You got the eye socket here. I'll zoom in on this good. I mean, this looks pretty, almost like a fish head. We come down, there's the eyebrow, the eye, the nose, the mouth, and then a goatee. And look what happened to this cloud. This all happened at the same time where that plane went down, just a little farther south. Hey, thanks out there, Shanna. Thanks anybody out there. Hell, if I didn't see, I can't look at chat and do this show. So, you know, I try to, sometimes I'll go back and watch it later. But that's, you know, why we got the mods out there. Mods do a good job out there trying to keep everything clean. Look, we have an aerosol, it looks like, down here in Antarctica. Anyway, I just thought that was pretty strange, this weird looking head. The clouds tell a story. Now, there's something else strange I found when I was down here looking. Now, I've been finding these vortexes of algae blooms. Now, check this one out. I see the dark green, the brown ones all the time. Look at this blue one. It looks like flames are dragging. And it's spinning into a vortex. Hold on, let me get the right layers where it shows it. See, it's starting to spin up. And then you also have these little vortexes down here. I've never seen this blue algae bloom before. So just weird stuff, man. And take, you know, you got the weird head here, you got the weird algae bloom. Here's where the plane went down. Why is there so many military bases down here? You know, it's summertime. We should be seeing more of the satellite down here. At least I think it is. Alright, probably not going to cover all that up there. Let's just go down and check out what's going on down here in New Zealand, Australia. So it looks like we got some kind of dump going on. So you could probably bet there's going to be a fire in this zone because they're spraying the accelerants on it. And we found a bunch of bunker fuel ships off the coast yesterday. I don't know if any's down there today. Let's take a look. Hey, thanks out there, Lumbar. Lubomore, Janek. Hey, thanks. I'm horrible at pronunciations and all that stuff, so. Oh, man, what'd I just do? Alright, so I'm really not seeing no blatant bunker fuel like we did yesterday. You know, we see the aerosols being deployed over the fire zones, and then the fires get worse. And it's not retardant that they're spraying on here. It looks like the fires have actually gone down a little bit since yesterday. The winds change directions again. Now, I went back, man. These fires have been burning for months. There's going to be no forest, no rainforest left, no anything left. These are all aerosols. Look, and they're even hitting it with some frequency waves. Wonder why there's earthquakes going on. We got low frequencies right here. Hey, thanks out there, Mazzy Stars. Look at Sydney, the most toxic air on the planet right now. We can see the X pattern. We can see they're trapping the stuff in, man. They're flying X patterns over the fires, over the fire smoke. I want to check all the layers. So the wind was blowing a little bit south. Definitely see all the aerosols being deployed. You can see they're flying over here from New Zealand, over in and over the fires, leaving chemtrails along the way. It's on purpose. You know, now you have probably inches of ash along the beaches out here. This looks like it's creating its own weather because it's getting so hot. What's all this brown stuff in here? I mean, that's kind of new there. It's like the whole area is on fire, like from down below. Now you got to kind of wonder, man, if, look, these fires are all burning to the east now. All in little tiny grid patterns. Everything is in a grid. Just like the aerosols. So, wow. So look at that. All the way up the coast. Pray for the people down here, man. They're going to be having health effects. Tons of frequencies in the clouds. Aerosols to the south. Sometimes I got to zoom in and out to get this thing to load up right. All right, let's go see what happened to the system. See, there's a rain system right here. The David Miles down here, he's another weather modification guy. He could pull this moisture right on down and put the fires out, but they're not letting him, or they don't want to pay, or something. And we're starting to get the weird blue algae over here now. This was green algae bloom. This right here around the Christchurch area is where we had a green algae bloom that was spinning into a vortex pattern, and it looked just like an eyeball, just like the other one. Then it dissipated. Now we have another one of this weird looking blue. I don't know what's up with this blue stuff, but since we've had the earthquakes down here and we've also had the volcanic, you know, who knows if it's some kind of reaction. I'd have to look in to see what, you know, what color does sulfur turn with the salt water. You know, is that some kind of I don't know what it is. Really weird cloud formation right here, right where the volcanoes are. That's another thing, the volcanoes. I went back yesterday. This volcano has been erupting for a week or 2 weeks, but yet they still were shipping people out here to look at an active volcano. I mean, how dumb is that? Somebody should be really sued over this. I mean, you can come on here on the weather, the worldview.earthdata.nasa.gov, and you can just go back in time and you can see it was billowing out smoke for weeks. It almost looks like we got smoke coming off that little island now. So let's go ahead and check the atmospheric river. We get rid of some of this stuff. Oh, and if you want, if you guys know how to screen capture this photo. When people ask what's in a contrail, here's the ingredients. Let's go over it again. In the JP8 jet fuel that they're burning today, the aluminum is 9,360 parts per billion. The barium's at 38. The strontium's at 351. The sulfur's at 1690. Titanium, 1056. High amounts of calcium, magnesium, zirconium, vanadium, tin, selenium, potassium, nickel, magnesium, lead, iron, copper. I mean, it's all in there. These are the elements in a contrail that they call water vapor. Oh yeah, here's where I was looking for if anything was happening, if we could spot any kind of anomalies down here where the C-130 went down going to Antarctica. And I really didn't spot nothing. On this one here, I can only do every 51 minutes. So it's not like, you know, I can set it on a 3 or 4 minutes apart and catch what they're doing. Now we might be able to go up to the Ghost 17 while we're here to see if we can see the bunker fuel operations in progress. Definitely not as heavy as they've been, and I think that was on yesterday's. Let me just kind of scroll down here. In fact, this will take too long. Let's go ahead and just go jump into let's take a look at the rivers of the sky. This is what I'm talking about that they're steering. So there's our remnants of the typhoon. Another storm hitting Africa right now. I got some footage coming out of Africa that I'll show tomorrow night that is just insane flooding there. I mean, it looks like the whole city is an ocean, man. Cars are floating by. Raging, far as you can see, river. So I'm just trying to see if I spot any kind of anomalies here. And I'm really looking down here by Antarctica to see. I'm not really seeing no anomalies down there. No spikes or nothing like that, so that's probably okay. Hey, no problem. This is what we got to do, man. We got to do it. Who else is going to do it? You know, while we're being slow killed, I'm not going to sit back and do nothing. I'm going to at least let my voice be heard. And you people should too. Eventually they'll take away the communications. You know, what you're seeing in Hong Kong, what you're seeing in France, what you've seen down in Venezuela, it's all coming here. They're engineering it with the divide of the left and the right paradigm. They're creating division with the shape of the earth. They're creating division every single way they can. Then they're going to throw in some food shortages on top of it. don't buy into the division. So I'm not sure, let me look here. I'm just looking for something here, see if I got it. So I think I'm going to play one more little quick clip, and then I'm going to call it a show, because I'm getting really, really tired. Anyway, guys, much love. We'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks everybody out there that helps us keep this operation going. I mean, we're trying to expand this operation. That's why we're trying to stream to different places and try to get people to listen, because, I mean, it's the air we breathe that we're fighting for. Thanks out there, Cynthia. Thanks to everybody out there that shares this information. That's one of the main things, getting past the YouTube algorithms. They'll never let us reach, 10 million people. They'd never let us. We're not no PewDiePie or any of these other people that get in the recommended all the time. They're going to keep us down. So the only way to beat that is by sharing on other platforms and all that. Thanks, Juanita. Anyway, guys, let me play just a quick clip of just a few minutes of the 2019 Texas licensing weather modification clip, and then we'll jump into a song called Rise, because everybody needs to rise. You can't just sit back and do nothing. You got to let your voice be heard. Anyway, much love, guys. Here we go.
We've had a lot of cases where we were seeding storms that had no business being seeded. We were just kind of throwing darts, and we were seeing responses in some of those. So we are learning that maybe there's more opportunity with some of these. Maybe we don't even need to have a rain cloud. We could go work cumulus congestus clouds that aren't really precipitating.